Good evening, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, y'all are having a wonderful day today. So, for those of you guys, of course, that have not heard the news, Deontay Wilder did lose to Tyson Fury a few weeks ago now to Tyson Fury. All right, Deontay Wilder lost to Tyson Fury in the rematch by 7th round TKO. Of course, he ended up gaining Deontay Wilder's WBC championship overall. And now I'm hearing that they might fight again in July. But of course, a lot of the Deontay Wilder fans, they are now alleging that Tyson Fury had cheated in both fights. Now off of some video footage that the gloves overall were apparently not correctly worn. Apparently overall the hand, at least to them, was lower into the glove so he could use his knuckles to hit Deontay Wilder. I'm going to disprove this overall, basically. We're going to look at multiple videos. We're going to look at first Dante's Box Nation. Then we're going to look at the HatmanStrikesBack. Then we're going to look at a couple of other videos as well. And then I'll show you, we're going to look at probably at least 2 or 3 videos in this thing. At least 2 videos from other channels. Because, first I'm going to try to counter some points real quick. And then I'm going to overall show you a video where I thought this dude overall had a lot of very good points in general. And then overall I'm going to show you my points when it comes down to the overall. So let's get into it. I'm going to intervene whenever I feel necessary.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Now, before I get deep into this, I want to elaborate a little bit on what I said in my last video talking about this story. I told you guys, when I first heard about this, because I heard about this when everyone heard about it, I was getting a lot of boxing fans that were emailing me at Dante'sBoxingNation@gmail.com. They started sending me links and like, did you see this, Dante? Did you see this? And the first video I seen was by Canada Peace Melbro, I think that's his name, something like that. But his video has gone viral. He played an actual clip of the fight where you see Tyson Fury's gloves just flapping back and forth like they're just bags. Like his hands are not even inside of the gloves, which we found out later on that his hands were all the way, or at least his knuckles were all the way at the bottom of the glove.
Now, take a look overall at that picture. There's some overall that I want to point out. First of all, they allege that little bump overall near the red tape, so that little bulge that you see on the upper side of the glove right there. Of course, if you were going to like face palm your face or something, that'd be the lower left part of your hand when it comes down to the overall, or the glove. They allege that as his thumb when it comes down to the overall. You know why that doesn't make any damn sense? Because if that was his thumb overall, wouldn't you see it sticking out? Because keep in mind, they don't wrap the thumb when it comes down to the overall. They don't wrap the thumb, or at least not in completion. So you would have seen the tip of some skin pointing out. There's no way that he would have been able to hide it overall, throughout that whole entire thing. When it came down to the overall, at least, I don't believe so. When it comes down to the overall, in my opinion, you probably overall would have been able to see some sort of skin. So that's overall the first thing that I'm going to mention right there. Unless you think that his thumb was that short, but I don't think so. Tyson Fury seems to have some pretty damn big hands. I think a thumb would have been showing. But secondly, like I said, they're laced, so you would have seen more skin. And also, let's take a look at the wrap up near that glove when it comes down to the overall. When you take a look at the glove right there, overall, it looks like, let me ask you something. Does it look like one solid wrap? Now, of course, you see a little bit of wrap under there as well. But does it look like one solid horizontal wrap? Because once again, imagine that you're face palming, your face with your hand right now when it comes down to it. So imagine overall, them wrapping your hand like that. Does that look like one horizontal wrap when it comes down to the overall? Or does that look like multiple wraps, as in there'd be certain incisions in between the knuckles? And apparently that line right there is supposedly a knuckle, not the palm when it comes down to it. That's what they're alleging. But you know what the knuckles look like when it comes to certain wraps? They look like incisions. So each time there's a knuckle, there's going to be a spacing, there's going to be a line, all right? And you don't see a line on the wraps. You see one solid wrap when it comes down to the overall. That's why you see that white line under there, right there, uninterrupted, all right? When it comes down to the overall, it's very clear that that is the palm, that is the top of the palm, all right? Because also they don't wrap the bottom parts of the palms in professional boxing, at least in certain circumstances. They did not wrap either Deontay Wilder's palms or Tyson Fury's palms. All right, now Deontay goes on later on to foolishly say that, well, if you've ever boxed before, you know that, they always wrap the palms when it comes down to overall non-professional boxing. But I'll show you that, guys, a little bit later. But anyways, let's continue. And they're alleging the only way that could have been his hand, by the way, is if that would have been the middle joints of his fingers, so the middle parts of his knuckles when it comes down to the overall, because there's no way that he would have been able to twist his wrist at a 90-degree angle there or a little bit in there and not possibly break his wrist or a certain amount of other things. There's no way. I don't care how long you've been boxing. I don't care how experienced you are. You're eventually going to break a bone if you try to twist your wrist. So that's basically already debunked. So you're alleging that that's the middle parts of the fingers. Even if you're going to say overall that that doesn't hurt them, when it comes down to the overall, they don't put wraps on the middle parts of the fingers. So if that was the middle parts of the fingers, you wouldn't even see those type of wraps, especially looking to be overlapping that area when it comes down to the overall. All right, if you saw wraps sort of in the middle parts of the fingers, it'd only be sort of on the top part when it comes down to it. So it wouldn't have that overlapping, type of picture right there. The only way, the way the wraps look for that to be possible is if the wrist was twisted inside the hand overall, and the fist overall was, completely like the top knuckles or completely on top, or, right on the bottom of the padding when it comes down to overall, or right on the bottom, like in the palm area, which as we can, if you ever put on some gloves, that's not even possible. Just take a look at the wraps. But anyways.
See in this picture right here. Now I get deeper into proving that later on, but the point I'm making is when I first seen the first video of just the gloves flapping back and forth and Tyson Fury constantly punching with his glove open, I thought that was highly suspicious, but I didn't think it was enough to come out and say those gloves have definitely been
his gloves really weren't open. There's some right there overall that look open right there. Actually, a lot of those punches that you see, which really weren't even punches right there, it's right in his face, but a lot of these punches actually were not even really jabs to the face. A lot of them overall were actually lead hands that he kept in Deontay Wilder's face overall to keep him off of him. When it comes down to the overall, there really was not, any, I believe, on purpose open hand punches landed. Sometimes they look like slaps, but whenever they were slaps, they landed with the finger part of the glove, never just completely in the middle of the palm. They try to show you certain angles where it might look like that, but no, if you watch the fights overall, pretty much every single punch, maybe here and there, there's a couple slaps, overall that might land somewhat the middle part, but, the majority of them, like 90% of them land with at least a little bit of the finger part of the glove.
But after I seen the actual glove in the first fight, keep in mind, in the first fight with Wilder and the second fight with Wilder, you'll notice Tyson Fury's left hand, it bends at a 90-degree angle. I mean, it's dangling like a rag doll every time he swings his hand, right? So in the first...
And that thing on the right there is the biggest piece of evidence they have in the second fight. Their most amount of evidence, which really isn't evidence anyways, they allege overall, it looks bad because of floppy gloves when it comes down to the overall. All right, that's what these guys are alleging. All right. When you take a look at it, if you take a look at it on the left when it comes down to it, that really isn't even completely at a 90-degree angle when it comes down to the overall. All right, that is not at a 90-degree angle. That looks more, to be honest with you, about a 75-degree angle, but because the gloves are so big, and especially the top part, it might look like overall more like a 90-degree angle, but no, even when you take a look at the glove, that is not a 90-degree angle when it comes down to it overall, But even try to bend your wrist, and keep in mind the type of gloves that Tyson Fury is wearing, they are more maneuverable around the wrist and really just more in general because I believe the type of gloves that he's wearing, they're somewhat made out of horsehair, horsehair overall and foam, or maybe just horsehair. The next video we're going to look at overall is going to cover that. I'm not really a huge expert on the gloves, but horsehair gloves are more maneuverable when it comes down to the overall, and the next guy I'm going to review is going to explain that. But anyways.
Fight.
But once again, they don't really have any evidence in the second fight. They have one left hand overall that looks like, at an awkward angle, but not really a weird angle when it comes down to the overall, not really out of the ordinary angle. They really don't have any evidence in the second fight whatsoever. Really none. That's the only picture that they have, because I don't see many very pictures overall of Tyson Fury's gloves shaking overall, even when he's not punching towards Deontay Wilder. And if Tyson Fury, if he really was putting his fist lower into the glove when it came down to the overall, even when he was moving around, and you know how Tyson Fury loves to jerk back and forth when it comes down to move his head around side to side, you would have seen his gloves moving around constantly, almost as if they would have been plastic bags. Every single time Tyson Fury's gloves were moving around, he was obviously moving the wrist, because it was whenever he was punching, when it came down to the overall. But anyways.
When I seen this image where you can clearly see his knuckles through the gloves, that's when I said, oh, I'm going to have to make a video about this. And I just recently seen that just today. See, I'm the type of person where I kind of operate like a district attorney's office, where if we're going to prosecute someone, I want to make sure we really have good enough evidence to bring up charges.
Well, that's the problem, Dante. You don't really have any evidence when it comes down to the overall. All these are really allegations. They don't really have any evidence whatsoever. But anyways, let's continue.
Right? If it's not good enough evidence, then we're not taking it to trial. So once again, in the first video that I watched, I thought it was suspicious. Watching his gloves just dangle all over the place like that, I thought it was highly suspicious, but I didn't think it was enough to say this was intentionally done and those gloves have been tampered with. But now, I can say that for sure. We know those gloves have been tampered with when it comes to Tyson Fury's gloves in the first fight and in the second fight. By the way, this image you guys are looking at, it was provided by Blue Blood Sports TV. He did a great job.
Who is also, and let me tell you something about Dante's Boxing Nation and Blue Blood Sports TV and a certain amount of those other channels. And a lot of people ain't gonna like this, but listen, those guys, they're pro-blacks, all right? A lot of people ain't gonna like that at the end of the day, but when it comes down to it, if you listen to their channels long enough, you know what I'm talking about, all right? They support their American black fighters to the points where they're not objective and they get too mixed in their feelings, all right? It is what it is. Once again, a lot of people ain't gonna like that. I really don't care. But when you're pro-racial like Dante and Blue Blood Sports TV is, you know, shit like this happens. You know, you're gonna make excuses when your favorite fighter overall gets his ass kicked. All right, it is what it is. All right, it's whatever. But at the end of the day, that's why you can't rely on those people. And they're not the only ones. Aki TV, same thing. 78 Sports TV, he's one of the more extreme ones. Boxing Eagle, all these guys, man, all of them are pro-blacks. that's what they are. All right.
Of creating this exhibit for this case. Now, because of the great hope insurance that Tyson Fury had, 95% of the non-black fans, they're going to defend Tyson Fury. It wouldn't matter if he was innocent or guilty. They're going to defend him because of the magnitude of this win. But we're going to talk about what they said to defend him in my last video when some fans were trying to say, well, that's not a knuckle, that's his palm. We're going to talk about that. But before we do, since this controversy has gotten so big, the question down is, Tyson Fury is an ESPN fighter. Everything that pertains to Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, ESPN has covered it. Even the ridiculous excuse that Deontay Wilder made when he said he lost because of his 40-pound costume. Man, the whole boxing world, they took that story and ran with it, didn't they?
See, and this dude overall was trying to, but once again, this dude is in his emotions when it comes down to the overall. I saw this dude overall comment when Roy Jones Jr. said that he felt sorry for Deontay Wilder. And he was like, you know, guys, it doesn't bother me that Deontay made the excuse overall. Every fighter makes excuses when it comes down to the overall, you know. You know, he very clearly went on his, oh my God, Deontay Wilder is just so picked upon. Feel sorry for Deontay Wilder because he's a black fighter and overall he gets that much more picked upon. And listen, you know, is there some cases overall where people in boxing will get picked upon because of race? Sure. But when it comes down to the overall, bottom line is this. The reason why people are bringing up Deontay Wilder's excuse and not the Tyson Fury thing is because there are professional sources around Deontay Wilder overall that said this type of stuff. There's really no professional sources overall talking about this right now. I mean, there's a couple of boxers when it comes down to the overall, you know, but I just don't think there's anywhere near enough evidence of this right now when it comes down to it. I don't think there's really that much evidence at all, really, to be honest with you. Just because overall he flicks his wrist, you know, overall, you know, sometimes when he punches, that don't really mean a whole lot to me when it comes down to the overall. It really means nothing. You know, I've seen a certain amount of fighters do that, but anyways, especially with those type of gloves. But we'll get into that later.
I mean, I've seen articles of that costume excuse everywhere, including ESPN talking about it. So think about this, guys. I want you to really think about how deep this situation is, the hypocrisy that exists, and what they're aiming to do and who they're aiming to protect. How is it possible that ESPN, they've talked about the excuse that Deontay Wilder made when it came to the costume, but when it comes to a serious situation that's brewing right now, where we have...
This really isn't a serious situation at all, Dante. Once again, this is really the pro-black boxing mafia making a lot of excuses. That's really all this is. You know, it is what it is. Anyways.
Pictures and images and video clips to prove it, they haven't even addressed it yet. How is that possible? That's a rhetorical question. We know what time it is. See,
we know what time it is. Basically, whenever Dante, Aki, Boxing Ego, whenever they say that, it means overall our black fighters, our American black fighters are so mistreated. You know, all this are bullshit when it comes down to the overall. And are there, you know, I'm sure that happens here and there when it comes down to the overall. But listen, dude, Deontay Wilder, at the end of the day, he made the most miserable excuse probably out of anyone in boxing history, probably out of anyone in sports history. I really have not heard an excuse like that in shit, I don't know how many damn years. And Dante had no problem whatsoever tearing Canelo Alvarez a new ass when he said, oh, I was too young when I fought Floyd Mayweather. That's why I lost. He had no problem tearing Canelo Alvarez a new ass. He had no problem, tearing Anthony Joshua a new ass when he lost. And he didn't even make any excuses. He had no problem tearing Manny Pacquiao a new ass when he lost to Floyd Mayweather and he injured his shoulder. But yet Deontay Wilder, when he loses overall, all of a sudden he's like, you know what, guys, we got to go easy on Deontay Wilder. Every fighter makes excuses. No, not every fighter makes excuses. All right, that's complete bullshit. It is what it is. But once again, this dude was trying to sugarcoat it because this dude is a Deontay Wilder fan. Once again, he's biased. All right, he's pro-racial.
Because if ESPN felt that they could easily debunk the whole costume excuse, why don't they feel the same way about the excuse of Tyson Fury possibly tampering with his gloves?
Because once again, there really aren't any professional sources overall saying some stuff about it. Once again, there's a couple of boxers overall that really aren't that big. I saw George Groves talk about it overall. And I saw Charles Martin go about it overall. I really don't trust what Charles Martin says. He's pretty much an idiot anyways. But when it comes down to the overall, George Groves commented on it as well. But when it comes down to the overall, I don't think anyone looks at it as overall that serious because it just doesn't seem very likely when it comes down to the overall. But anyways, and that overall, and once again, there are really no professional sources talking about it. No professional ESPN sources talking about it or a lot of these other guys talking about it. So it is what it is. Like I said, there were probably professional sources interviewing Deontay Wilder or a certain amount of other things, or Deontay Wilder released it out to the public himself, and that's why it was big.
Why wouldn't they at least even talk about it? Bring Andre Ward on the panel like they always do and other fighters and ask, what do you think about millions of people saying that Tyson Fury's gloves have been tampered with? Of course they're not going to address this if they don't have to. The only way they're going to even think about addressing this is if they have someone purposely going on there to defend the allegation. That's how good that hope insurance is for Tyson Fury. Even in other countries, Tyson Fury is covered, right? Not only is he covered in his own country, which is expected, but he's probably covered even more in America.
See, Dante and these pro-blacks, when it comes down to it over, they always bitch and complain, basically saying overall, well, Deontay, only with a black fighter would the American people go against him when it comes down to the overall. Only, we know what time it is when it comes down to, listen, man, let me just ask you guys something. If there's any Mexican-American, boxing fans out there watching this video, let me ask you something. Let's say Canelo Alvarez and David Benavidez got in the fight. Who'd you rather cheer for, Canelo Alvarez or David Benavidez? And I'm not Latino. I'm not Mexican when it comes down to the overall. But I'd cheer for Canelo Alvarez in that fight. I'm not sure who the hell you guys would cheer for when it comes down to the overall. But let me tell you something, Dante, and this is no secret. The American people, it is not, they don't always have to cheer for. They're not always, what's the word that I'm looking for? They don't always just 100% need to cheer for the American fighter. In fact, there's been many instances where the American fighters overall are not cheered for, or the American athletes are not cheered for. You take a look overall, you know, if someone were to watch tennis, do you think people would really cheer for, you know, a U.S. guy overall over Novak Djokovic or Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal? No, probably not. Do you think they'd probably cheer for, you know, overall, like that? I remember when Chris Weidman won the UFC title against Anderson Silva, and they hated that dude, you know? Now, of course, you can argue, well, Deontay Wilder, you know, and Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's not looked at as overall as overly big over here when it comes down to the overall. Yeah, but I think a certain amount of people look at Deontay Wilder as not having that great of a boxing style. I think a lot of people, including me, looked like, well, this was bound to happen sooner or later when it came down to the overall because you didn't really make any adjustments whatsoever. And on top of that, when it comes down to the overall, a lot of people thought Tyson Fury in the first fight got robbed, including me, because it was a robbery, you know, but it is what it is. And on top of that, Tyson Fury actually is more of a superstar than you'd think because he does have that win against Vladimir Klitschko back in, I believe, 2015? Somewhere around there. So he is decently known.
So with that being said, let's go ahead and tear down the Tyson fans' defense of where Tyson Fury's hands are in his gloves, at least his left hand. Because I had a couple people in the last video I did about this saying, hey, that's not his knuckle, that's his palm, that's the palm of his hand. That's exposed on the inner part of his glove. And break this down completely. Let's get into Exhibit A. Now, if you look at this pic again, and you see right in the center, you see exposed skin, what you will notice is a vertical line. At least vertical if his hand was upright, right? So the question is, how many human beings do you know that have straight vertical lines inside the palm of their hands?
Well, here's the problem with that, Dante, when it comes down. If you actually look at more of a clear picture of it, and unfortunately I can't find one. I can't remember the video overall where I found a more clear picture of it. I believe it was actually on one of Aki's videos, and I don't really watch his videos in overabundance because, to be honest, that dude has the IQ of of a goddamn carrot. But when it comes down to the overall, like I said, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, if you actually look at the clear picture of it, it actually looks more like a shadow or more of a crinkled up, you know, middle of the palm. That's more what it looks like. But once again, you know, just all you have to look at basically to see that that'd be the palm it would have to be is just to take a look at the wrappings. The only way the wrappings would ever even possibly look like that is if his knuckles were completely turned over, like the top of his knuckles, not even the middle joints of your fingers. All right, it would have to be the complete top of your knuckles. And even then, the wraps would not look like that. They would not look like one solid line. Because as of right there, if you are alleging that as two lines, then that means overall there'd be two knuckles right there, correct? Once again, they don't wrap the middle parts overall of the fingers. It doesn't go that low. They go in between the fingers and they still go, you know, they cover the top part of the knuckles. But they don't even touch the middle parts of the joint. They don't touch the middle joints of your fingers. All right? And we're going to look at that later on. So all you have to do is take a look at the wraps.
I'm not talking about a slanted line. I'm talking about a line that goes straight up vertical. Like when somebody was to raise their hand, they were in class, and all you see is vertical lines going up and down inside the palm of their hand. You would damn near think that person is an alien, right? It's clear as day that that is a knuckle. That's the only way it would even make sense for a person to be punching with his glove open. At least that's the only way Tyson Fury would benefit from it, is if once again, his knuckles was all the way at the bottom of the glove. Another reason why we know that that's a knuckle and not the palm of his hand. Because if you've boxed before, then you would know that when you put wraps on, your whole palm is covered.
Now listen to what he just said. Listen to what he just said. I'm not only going to show you a little bit later on that not only was Tyson Fury's complete palm not covered, but neither was Deontay Wilder's, okay? No, they don't completely wrap the palms in professional boxing, all right? And we're going to show you that later on. So remember what Dante just said here. Let's rewind that.
And not the palm of his hand. Because if you've boxed before, then you would know that when you put wraps on, your whole palm is covered. You're not going to see skin. You're going to only see the color of the wraps.
So remember that. Remember what he just said. He just said this. This guy overall who knows all about boxing. He just said this. All right. He said the palms are not wrapped. I'm going to show you in the post-fight interview in Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury 2. They don't wrap the palms, or at least not the complete palm. All right. They wrap the top part of the palm. They do not wrap the lower part of the palm. All right. But you'll see what I'm talking about.
in your hand, the only skin that is exposed is the skin on your knuckles. But you know what? Just for argument's sake, let's say that really was his palm. Regardless if it was his palm, if it was his knuckle, the punch that he's throwing in boxing is illegal. It's illegal to throw a punch with your glove open. And this is what Tyson Fury did with the...
That's the problem, Dante. Tyson really was, even in the pictures that you showed overall that, you know, were shown in the video, they weren't really that open when it came down to it over. They were still landing with a piece of the finger overall with the glove. There might have been a couple that were open here and there when it came down to it overall, but they weren't really primarily open. If they were open, trust me, Kenny Bayless would have called it, you know, when it came down to it overall. Kenny Bayless is a very astute referee when it comes down to it overall. You know, now, of course, a certain amount of people overall say, well, then why didn't he catch Antonio Margarito all the way back then? That is a completely different technique, and that is much more harder to catch because that is hidden inside the hand wraps. And there wasn't really a lot of referees taking a look for that type of technique until Margarito actually got caught for that. So now overall, they will catch people like that overall, where if they do have some, you know, a little bit fishy in their gloves, you know, overall, then they'd catch it. You know, when it comes down to the overall. But that's a completely different technique, different situation, you know, but...
Deontay Wilder in both fights all night. So when it comes to your excuse, Tyson Fury was intentionally doing something illegal in 2 fights with Deontay Wilder. You know what I'm saying? It would be different if he did it for a couple rounds, but Tyson Fury, he did the same thing for 2 whole fights. Which means there's a method to the madness. And you know, before I close out with this video, I also wanted to respond to some of the racist fans that posted comments in my last Wilder Fury video. And it was like maybe 2 or 3 people that almost had the same comment. They said, oh, you black bastards are just mad because a white man came over to your country and beat your guy's ass. That's why you're making these excuses. You know, the funny thing about this...
Is that really racist, Dante, or is that the truth? You know, I think what would have been racist overall is if someone would have said overall, you know, yeah, that's right, that, you know, a Caucasian beat that coon Deontay Wilder. Now that would have been racist. All right, and that's not okay. But when it comes down to the overall, no, saying that, you know, you black people overall, you black bastards or overall, you know, you guys just overall need to stop making excuses when it comes down to the overall. You know, I mean, they're sounding pretty truthful to me because Dante, in all reality, you know, that's pretty much what it is. I mean, man to man here, that's pretty much what it is. All right. So it is what it is.
Person saying this is one of the first people that actually brought this to light. This whole story of the gloves being tampered with was a white guy from Canada.
Doesn't matter. When it comes down to the overall, we all know why you're doing it. When it comes down to the overall, at least I know why you're doing it. I know what time it is. Okay, so it is what it is. I know why you are bringing this up. I know why Key TV, that idiot, is bringing it up. I know why Boxing Eagles is bringing it up. I know why all these other pro-black channels are bringing it up, because Deontay Wilder was their main figure. He was the biggest representator in the pro-black boxing mafia. Once again, I'm not talking about black channels in general. I'm not I'm not trying to offend a whole, you know, demographic here. All right? But what I am saying is that when it comes down to the pro-black boxing mafia, they're the ones overall that you cannot rely on, all right? And Dante is a pro-black. All right? It is what it is. You know, people get angry at that, but it's whatever. All right? So it's, you know, it is what it is.
It wasn't some black dude who was just rooting for Deontay Wilder. Yeah, it was a white guy from Canada. He's the one that has a video going viral where he's playing the actual clips of Tyson Fury's hands getting stretched back like he's Gumby or something, or Dazlin from Street Fighter, just stretching his goddamn hands all the way backwards. And if you didn't understand the analogy, I'm talking about when Tyson Fury's gloves are just dangling all over the place like there's no damn hand in the gloves. Speaking of some of these fans that are celebrating by injecting race into this, like, yeah, you know, the black bastard loss, etc., 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 let me just go ahead and make this clear, since you guys want to mention race. When it comes to the best fighters in the world, I mean, what team would you rather have? Would you rather have Team USA? Would you rather have Team UK, Team Mexico? let's just keep this real. When it comes to talent, when it comes to the best fighters in the world, this country has Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, Shakur Stevenson, Gervonta Tank Davis, Devin Haney, Demetrius Andrade, the Charlo brothers, just to name a few. Now,
yes, and they're very, very talented, and those are pretty much the main ones overall that you always mention. Whenever you hear the pro-black boxing channels, those are the main ones they're always going to mention. All right, they don't give a shit about the black fighters from the other countries. They don't care about Anthony Joshua. They don't care about, really even the Cuban fighters. They give the Cuban fighters more credit overall than they will a few of the other fighters when it comes down to the overall. But they really don't care about the black fighters from the other areas. So it is what it is. But let's just take a look at all those fighters really when it comes down to the overall. Dante, let's really admit, you said Team America, but I didn't hear you ever mention Teofimo Lopez. I never heard you mention David Benavidez. I never heard you mention Caleb Plant and a certain amount of the others. So really, what are you saying? You're saying overall the American black fighters. So let's just take a look at it overall when it comes down to the overall. They're very talented, but how many of those guys are really the best of their divisions right now? I think one, and that's Errol Spence. All right? Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence are probably the two best in their division, but neither of those guys are the number one pound-for-pound fighter right now. I know that is going to give the pro-black boxing mafia a heart attack, but when it comes down to it, no, they would not be the number one pound-for-pound fighters right now just because now Errol Spence, he's getting up there, and Terrence Crawford is up there as well, but I need to see, Terrence Crawford face some greater competition. Now, if Errol Spence defeats a Terrence Crawford or maybe even a Manny Pacquiao, would I put him at the number one pound for pound? Maybe, but when it comes down to the overall, I might have to see him in another weight class to probably put him at the number one pound for pound. But when it comes down to the overall, like I said, it all depends. But Terrence for sure, man. These guys try to allege that Terrence Crawford is the number one pound for pound fighter. I need to see him face some real opponents. Victor Postol, I'm sorry, that's not an A-class opponent. That's a solid B-class opponent. That's not an A-class opponent. And Gamboa was a very decent opponent, but he's debatably not even an A-class opponent. But if you want to give Terrence Crawford the A grade on that one, I'll let it slide. But when it comes down to the overall, the problem is that Terrence has never faced a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter. He's never faced a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter. He pretty much has a C-class resume compared to some of the other fighters out there. Errol Spence has a better resume than him. Lomachenko has a better resume than him. And Canelo has a better resume than him. And all resume means is who you have fought. All right, now accomplishments and accolades, he has an A grade in that. Dominance and skill set, he has an A grade in that. But I rank my pound-for-pound fighters off of 3 categories. Resume, accomplishments and accolades, and then skills and dominance. Skills and dominance have to be in last place because you can have a fighter that looks skilled and dominant if they're not facing great competition. Like we can put over, if we really want to go there, we can put Gervonta Tank Davis in the top 10 pound for pound because he looks that damn skilled. But it's not just about skills. You also have to have someone on your resume. All right, and Terrence just doesn't have a lot of great people on his resume. So until I see him in there with a real welterweight when it comes down to the overall, which will be his really first official A-class fighters, I can't put him at the number 1 spot. I can't even put him at the number 2 pound for pound spot because Canelo and Lomachenko both have a way greater resume than Terrence Crawford. A lot of people are going to get mad at that, but it is what it is. And if you need me to explain it further later on, I'll do it later on. In fact, I believe Floyd Mayweather just recently called Terrence Crawford the number 1 pound for pound fighter. So I'll actually be doing my own video on that a little bit later on.
It would be different if Deontay Wilder was the only guy we had. It was either him or nothing.
Well, to be honest, Dante, you guys have a lot of hopes right now. And, am I this Larry Merchant type of guy where I'm going to say Deontay Wilder, the last black hope? No. And I really don't even know what he completely said. I never looked into it. But a lot of these guys, including Dante, they see a lot of their American black fighters not taking over the divisions like they used to. And to be honest, they're flipping the fuck out when it comes down to the overall. And that's not saying that they can't. I'm not one of these guys that believes one race is superior to the other and all this other shit when it comes down to the overall. All right. But for the first time, and these are just the facts when it comes down to the overall, all you have to do is take a look at the pound for pound rankings and a certain amount of other things and who is on average right now the best of each division. For the first time ever, probably in boxing, the, Western and Eastern Europeans, who are mainly Caucasians as of right now in the world of boxing, they've sort of taken over the sport. I mean, you're talking about Lomachenko, talking about, well, Canelo's not, he's not really from Europe, but he does have European roots. He has French roots. I believe for those of you people that don't know, he is a Caucasian Hispanic, and they look at him as a Caucasian. That's why Dante, that's why Eagle, that's why these other guys say he has a complexion for the protection. So even Canelo, who would be counted as a Latino and a Hispanic, when it comes down to the overall, he is a Caucasian Hispanic when it comes down to the overall, you know. So it's whatever. And then they also take a look at Lomachenko, Josh Taylor, Tyson Fury, you know. They take a look at Artur Beterbiev, you know, a certain amount of these other guys, you know. Really, the only pound-for-pound fighters they have right now are Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. And a lot of them don't like that. And they want Terrence Crawford or one of their American black fighters to be the number one pound-for-pound guy. That's why they're going on these tangents. That's why you hear them degrade Lomachenko and Canelo Alvarez so much. And some of the points overall where they mention stuff about them, I don't completely mind their points. But a lot of the times they don't keep the same energy. Meaning they'll criticize Lomachenko and Canelo for one thing. Then when Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence or someone else does the same damn thing, all of a sudden they let them slide off the hook. Or all of a sudden they let them off the hook. You know, no, it don't work that way. You got to be consistent. You got to keep the same energy all the way around. And these guys, Aki, Dante, Boxing Ego, they don't do that. You know why? Because they're pro-racial. All right? And when you're pro-racial, you're not going to be consistent. You're not going to keep the same energy. You're always going to be biased. All right?
But that's not the case. I mean, when it comes to Deontay Wilder, it's no secret. Deontay Wilder was never really known for his skill. He was known for his will, his heart, and that right hand that could bail him out of any problem. So when some of you fans yell out, yeah, that's right, the black bastard lost, etc., you're just admitting and revealing how you have felt every single time you've seen a black guy beat the guy that you were actually rooting for. So with that,
I would agree with you partially there, Dante, when it comes down to the overall. You should remember that next time overall when you call a certain amount of the Caucasian and Latino fighters hype jobs overall, and then when one of your fighters overall seems to be under the same circumstances overall, you seem to not keep the same energy. Or when it comes down to the overall, you seem to have certain favoritism. I would say overall that you should use your same standards, sir. But we all know you're not going to do that.
being said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. But before I do, I want to give a big shout out to my man Nate Drink One.
Anyways, that's really about it for the Dante video. Now, let's see what Tyson Fury's raps look like. I'm deciding if I want to show you both Deontay and Tyson Fury's raps. You know what? Screw it. Let's go to both fights. I'm going to show you what both of their raps look like. Okay, so here we are in the first fight. As you see, they took his hand wraps off Tyson Fury, so we're going to have to see his wraps in the second fight where you see a very clear picture of how the wraps are when it comes down to the overall. So in the Deontay Wilder fight overall, this is the first fight. You're going to see how Deontay Wilder's hands are wrapped when it comes down to the overall, just to show you that this is how they wrap both of their hands, okay? You're going to see Deontay Wilder go and shake or sort of clap or high five, Tyson Fury, and look, overall if you see a part of his palm, all right? Because they did not cut the wraps off of Deontay Wilder's hands. Let me play it in slow motion. Now, did you see a part of his palm? Hold on. Let's rewind that. Let me see if I can get in regular speed this time. All right, here we go again. Let's see. There you go. As you see, they do not wrap all of the palms. There is a decent amount of the palm there overall that is exposed. And there's even more of Tyson Fury's palm exposed overall. And as you see, it's one overall horizontal, once again, as if you were going to face palm your face, sort of. So if your hand was in a vertical position, they lay the wraps at the top of the palm vertically, all right? And when it comes down to horizontally, all right? When it comes down to the overall, So that's the only way it would have been possible, is if the wraps overall would have been laid down horizontally. All right? That's the bottom line, because it was only one wrap. You didn't see any spaces in between. Now let's take a look at Tyson Fury's wraps in the rematch. Alrighty guys, so this is another part of the video that I just want to show you that when it comes down to it, it would have been impossible for overall Tyson Fury for that to be his knuckles, because once again, it would have had to been the middle joints of his fingers, the middle parts of his knuckles, and as you see right there, the wraps do not touch that part, okay? And once again, take a look at it. Does that look like one solid wrap, or does it look like there is overall, things in the middle? There's things in the middle, so you would have seen that as well. So it makes no sense how the hell overall that would have been the middle parts of his fingers when it comes down to the overall. Because once again, it is not one solid wrap, and it doesn't touch the middle parts of the fingers overall. All right? You know? And once again, you're not going to twist your wrist while throwing a punch, because I don't give a shit who you are. If you throw a punch twisting your wrist, you're going to break it. All right? So those are the only two ways it makes sense. All right? So once again, take a look at the knuckles. All right? It would have had to been on the middle parts of the knuckles. All right? Which it obviously was not, because as you see right there, it was not touching them. All right? But anyways, let's see if I can find the other video. I literally just found it yesterday, and all of a sudden, literally, I can't find this damn video. But let me see if I can find it. Alrighty, for some reason, it took a while overall to find the video. For some reason, I can't seem to find the regular video overall of the post-fight thing. It literally was right on there yesterday. But anyways, no matter. I found a picture of it anyways. So we're going to play the video overall, and I'm going to show you where you can obviously see the majority of his palm with his wrap still on his hands, all right, that they're still very clearly showing. Take a look at his left hand in the air, which to us, I guess, in this direction would be the right. All right, but take a look at the right side of your screen. Take a look at the hand that is closest to the screen, I guess, which would be, you know, closest to you, which is going to be the right one. See that? Now, is that not his palm? Let's play this in slow motion. Hold on a sec. Remember what Dante said. They don't wrap. They wrap the part of the palm. This is what Dante said. Let's play it in slow motion. All right? Do you see the difference? And do you see how it's just one solid wrap on the palm, the way it looked like overall in the thing? There's no incisions between the knuckles or anything like that, or no, lines in between the knuckles, So once again, there's that disproven overall once again. So Dante's was proven wrong once again when it came down to the overall. Now we're going to watch a video overall by this one channel called the HatmanStrikesBack. And then I'm going to show you some of my points. So the video won't be that much longer when it comes down to the overall. This video probably is going to be around an hour long now that I look about it. But once again, this is to debunk this, once and for all. But let's head into the HatmanStrikesBack. Alrighty, so here we're going to take a look at the HatmanStrikesBack, and he's going to be talking about the type of gloves overall that Tyson Fury was wearing. He's going to be bringing up a lot of the same points that I was bringing up overall, and he says a lot of things that I'd agree with in here, and I think he brings up some good solid points. So we're going to look at this, and then after this video, I'm going to show you during the rematch overall when it comes down to it. You can see the fingers and the thumb clenched in the glove at certain times, and just a certain other things that I noticed as well. So let's take a look at the HatmanStrikesBack.
This Tyson Fury glove conspiracy is so damn stupid, it absolutely blows my mind. But there are still people insisting that there's something to it. Well, let me demonstrate and explain why there's absolutely nothing to it and why the whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. So, they are claiming that Tyson Fury was able to get extra power and stop Deontay Wilder because he was wearing doctored gloves. Well, the video going round purporting to show these doctored gloves is a video from the first fight. Well, there's a big problem right away because he didn't stop Deontay Wilder in the first fight.
Agreed. They allege that he used it in both fights when it comes down to it, and that's overall what they were alleging is that, it gave him extra power. It just goes to show you they don't know what the hell they're talking about when it comes down to it. He used it in both fights, apparently. But he had that much more power in the second fight, like a key overall. Now we know why Tyson Fury, when it comes down to had that much more power in the rematch when it came down to overall. Well, I thought he did it in both fights. How come he couldn't even knock down Deontay Wilder once in the first fight, but he knocked him down twice and then knocked him out within 7 rounds in the rematch? If it was the same exact technique. That doesn't make any damn sense when it comes down to the overall. But anyways.
Fight went the distance, and it was
also keep in mind, Key also said, now we know why Tyson Fury was throwing so many damn uppercuts. I'm going to show you some footage overall of the fight as well, and we're going to see with which hand Tyson Fury throws the uppercut with.
It's a draw. He stopped Wilder in the second fight, but guess what, folks? He wasn't wearing the same gloves in the second fight. He was wearing 2 completely different models of glove, and of course, there is no footage in the second fight of his gloves behaving
Absolutely. Thank you.
strangely or any anomalies to do with them. So there's the first massive problem which has shut down this whole nonsensical debate to begin with. But if you want further evidence of why there's nothing to look into here, in the first fight, Tyson Fury was wearing a pair of Everlast MX. Now, these are a glove which have a combination of foam and horsehair padding, okay? Now, with professional fight gloves, there are usually 3 types of padding: foam, horsehair, and then the combination I just spoke about, foam and horsehair. Now, with the foam and horsehair MX, which Tyson Fury is wearing here, the foam is next to your knuckle, and then above that, the glove is padded out with horsehair. I'm going to show you what horsehair gloves look like, or these particular model anyway, right here. So here we've got 3 different types of Everlast fight gloves: the Elite, the Powerlocks, and the MX. In the first fight, Deontay Wilder was wearing Powerlocks, and Tyson Fury was wearing the MX. And you can see the difference between them here. The Powerlocks are completely foam, and therefore they have a more uniform shape. The MX, because they're filled with horsehair isn't uniform in shape. Okay?
Absolutely, which also means that they're going to be more maneuverable. Also keep in mind they don't have the same protection with the wrist when it comes down to the overall.
This is why they have this type of appearance. And the horsehair is also a lot softer. And under fight conditions, when your hands are sweating, the horsehair can start clumping up and it can start moving around in the glove. Foam doesn't do that. Are you with me so far? But horsehair does. Now, if you want some extreme examples from back in the days, because in decades gone by, horsehair was the standard padding for boxing gloves. So, for example, when Muhammad Ali was fighting people like Joe Frazier, he was wearing gloves padded with horsehair. This is the pair of gloves that he wore in the first Joe Frazier fight, as you can see there. That's them, okay? Look how distorted they are. This is because during the course of a fight, the horsehair can start clumping up. It can start matting, especially when you're punching somebody and the horsehair can all compress together with the sweat and you get big clumps of horsehair floating around in the glove. That's another picture of the same pair of gloves that Muhammad Ali wore against Joe Frazier. That's a different pair of gloves. That might be Ali's gloves from the Thriller in Manila. I could be wrong there, but as you see again, the horsehair tends to clump up in certain areas of the glove during a fight. Now, obviously, the design of boxing gloves has improved over the years, and they don't tend to clump up as badly as they did in the old style gloves, but they still clump up to some extent. And also, with Tyson Fury's gloves, and see here, there's nothing strange about Tyson Fury's gloves, and this is pretty late on in the fight. I think this might be like the 10th round or something. Nothing strange looking about them there. But these gloves, the Everlast MX, come in 10-ounce XL. So fight gloves generally come in 2 sizes, 8 and 10 ounce. But with Everlast, they make an XL version of their 10-ounce gloves. Now, what that means is the gloves are exactly the same weight as standard 10-ounce gloves, but they're just bigger. Well, that means that the padding has to be thinner. It has to be distributed over a larger surface area. Okay? And what that does is it allows the padding to move around more. Because if you've got a smaller glove and the same amount of padding in it, the padding is more compressed, so it's more likely to stay together and stay in one place. But when you've got an XL glove, the padding is more spread out. The horsehair, that is more spread out. Remember, I'm talking about horsehair here, not foam. The horsehair is more spread out, and as I say, during the course of a fight, once sweat gets in there, it can start clumping up, it can start compressing under the weight of punches, and the glove can start, doing unusual things. And of course, the leather itself can start to stretch. Tyson Fury, in the clip which is going round, is basically just flicking his wrists when he's throwing the punches.
Absolutely. I agree 100% when it comes down to the overall, because if Tyson Fury did actually have his hands lower into the glove, you would think overall that if, he didn't have his hand properly in the glove, that, when he does his herky-jerky motions and, throws a jab out there a lot of the times, that his hands would be moving around constantly anyways, but his hands only move around when he's flicking his wrist.
And There are also clips of him with his palm open. Now, if your palm is open and you're throwing punches with an open palm, then of course it's not going to look the same as throwing punches with a closed fist. Okay, so he's doing both. Sometimes he's flicking his wrists, other times his palm is open, and obviously the glove looks different. So this is one of the pictures which is going round where they're claiming that Tyson Fury's hand was far too low in the glove. That his fist was here, and what, this part of the glove is empty? Never in my life have I ever heard something so stupid. You can clearly see Tyson Fury's fingers are in the end of the glove here.
And I'd agree, because those look like the extensions of his fingers when it comes down to the overall. All right? I agree.
Well, do you think the glove is going to curl over like this by itself?
Agreed.
With this ridge here? Those are Tyson Fury's fingers. There's nothing to see here. His palm is open. You can clearly see the shape of his fingers there. That's the bottom of the palm of his hand, where his hand connects to his wrist. Those are his fingers. What on earth are people looking at? There's nothing to see here. Jesus Christ, people. Einstein once said, two things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity. And I'm unsure about the universe. So he knew for sure that human stupidity was infinite. And so do I. Because how on earth anyone can look at this and find anything suspicious about it at all is beyond me. People think that his fist is balled up here. You can see the palm, look, the crease in his palm. People think his fist is balled up here and this part is empty. If this part was empty, the glove would be straight. It wouldn't have this clear ridge in it.
Agreed.
Where his tips of his fingers are pushing down. What on earth are people talking about? Have you ever worn a pair of horsehair boxing gloves before? Unbelievable. Talk about reaching like Inspector Gadget or Stretch Armstrong. Jesus.
I agree, sir. I agree.
People. And once again, this was in the first fight. It has nothing to do with the result of the second fight. He was wearing totally different gloves in the second fight. In the second fight, he was wearing Pathin Sport gloves. He was not wearing these Everlast MX. This is the first fight. In the first fight, he didn't have any extraordinary power. He didn't drop Deontay Wilder, didn't do any of that. Deontay called him feather-fisted in the first fight. So where are people going with this? Deontay Wilder,
Agreed.
as I just said, is not wearing the same type of gloves. He's wearing Everlast Power Locks, which do not have horsehair in them. They've only got high-density foam. So they're a much more uniform glove. They're not going to wobble around and look floppy, etc. They're much more dense, much more densely padded, much more stiff in their appearance and in their feel. So here again, these are the gloves that Deontay Wilder wears, and these are the ones that Tyson Fury was wearing in the first fight. So there is no mystery here, people. There's no, oh my God, Tyson Fury cheated. He put something in his gloves. No, he didn't put anything in his gloves. He just don't know anything about professional fight gloves.
Agreed. And they don't know anything about professional fighting either, in all honesty.
I've actually trained in these gloves, Everlast MX. You can go to Geezer's Boxing, great store. I believe they used to be called Geezer's Palace back in the days. Changed their name to Geezer's Boxing. Been around for many, many years. Order yourself a pair of Everlast MX. Train in them and see for yourself, especially if you can get hold of the XL versions. Because again, they've got the 10-ounce version, then they've got the 10-ounce XL. Exactly the same weight. How do they make one glove bigger than the other if they're exactly the same weight? Well, they have to distribute the padding more thinly. There's no other way. Okay? And therefore, that padding is not going to stay in place as much as padding which is in a smaller glove, because it's compressed down and it can't move around as easily. Yeah? There is no mystery to this, people. It's individuals who are clutching at straws desperately, and they're taking advantage of the naivety and ignorance of many people out there who don't know.
Agreed. And many of the over-emotional Deontay Wilder fans and the pro-black boxing mafia members, when it comes down to the overall, who really want Deontay Wilder overall to win that fight. You know, and also, once again, I'm very interested. If Tyson Fury never gets inspected by the NSAC or the Nevada State Athletic Commission, if he never gets inspected by them when it comes down to the overall, and you still truly believe that he is cheating, will they want that third fight to go through? I can guarantee you that a certain amount of them will when it comes down to the overall. A certain amount of them do want that fight to go through because they know deep down in their hearts that Deontay really just got beat because he fought the better guy. It is what it is, all right?
Anything about professional fight gloves. Yeah?
Because once again, if Tyson Fury does not get inspected, of course, he would be able to use the old same cheating tactics, right? Just to overall explain it to you, just in case it's not obvious when it comes down to overall. Because he'd be able to use the same tricks, correct? When it comes down to the overall, right? So you wouldn't want a third fight if the Nevada State Athletic Commission doesn't, you know, overall inspect Tyson Fury. You know, I'll be waiting for that. I'll be waiting for those guys overall to say, no, we don't want a third fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, not until overall this gets inspected. All right? So stand your ground. Remember that. Remember that, Pro Black Boxing Mafia. Stand your ground, you know, overall, even when, you know, the Nevada State Athletic Commission does not inspect Tyson Fury's gloves. All right?
So, look, if there was anything to it, I would be the first person to say, because I'm a glove connoisseur, truth be told. And if any of you want proof, because some people are going to be saying, he wasn't wearing Everlast MX. They don't look like MX to me. They're Everlast MX. Wilder wears Power Locks. Fury wears MX. Now, obviously, they're custom colors, but the giveaway with MXs is this little thing right here, which is the Everlast Mexican logo. And I'm going to show you it right now. These are Power Locks, okay? And this is what Wilder was wearing. Just a different color version. These are the stock colors. Wilder had custom colors. But Fury's MX, see that there? The little Mexican logo? It's right there on Fury's glove. See the way it's pointing there, parallel to the thumb? Where we at? Parallel to the thumb. With the Power Locks, the logo is by the seam of the thumb. It's not parallel to the thumb. It's by the seam. You see? See, the Power Lock has the logo here. The MX has the logo here. And it's a different logo, obviously. And those are what Tyson Fury was wearing. There you go, the MX logo. I mean, I don't need that proof. I already know they're MX because I know those gloves very, very well. I know what they look like. And one of the things about MX is because they're a horsehair glove, they're a lot more flexible than gloves filled with foam. Foam gloves are a lot stiffer. You can't open your hand as easily, but they retain their shape better and they're more protective. Horsehair gloves, less protective, but a lot more flexible. You can move your hand around a lot more easily.
Absolutely.
Open your hand up a lot more easily. Again, these are a load of different colors of Everlast MX. So you can see there, horsehair is the top layer of padding. And then underneath the top layer of horsehair, you've got a thin layer of foam, which covers your knuckles. So hopefully this will clear up this nonsensical Tyson Fury glove conspiracy once and for all. But I'm probably wishing on a star. Wishful thinking by me, because people believe what they want to believe at the end of the day. But anybody out there who is just maybe naive about boxing gloves and thinks there's something to Tyson Fury's gloves, go and look at Tyson Fury's gloves for the entirety of the fight. There's plenty of slow motion shots of Tyson Fury's gloves in this fight. Go look at the slow motion shots. This is late in the fight. Look, okay, if you capture something in slow motion, it's going to look a bit weird because it's slow motion. See it in full speed, and then all of a sudden it doesn't look so strange. Okay, but anyway, there's plenty of other slow motion shots where nothing looks weird. All I can tell you is, I know fight gloves, training gloves, sparring gloves, different models, different brands very, very well, and there is absolutely nothing strange, nothing untoward, nothing dodgy about Tyson Fury's gloves in the first fight, which, even if there was, how does that make any difference to the result of the second fight?
Agreed 100%, sir. Because once again, they don't really have any evidence for the second fight. They don't really have any evidence for the second fight. All right? You know, I saw one thing overall where, you know, Key and a certain amount of these other dumbasses, they're just like, well, why is Tyson Fury seem to be punching with the end of his glove overall? He wasn't really punching Deontay Wilder with the end of his glove, but what he was doing, one of his techniques is that he was sticking his lead hand in Deontay Wilder's face in order to keep it, you know, at a distance, in order to land a counter. And all the great defensive boxers do this. Floyd Mayweather has used this. Araceli Lara, Gail Morgan now have used this. The Cuban boxers especially love to do this. All right? But whatever. But we'll finish this up overall, and then I'm going to show you some of the points that I'm going to bring up. And then we'll look at the fight itself.
You lose the will to live dealing with these donuts on YouTube. You really do. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's Hatman, I'm out. Hatman merch is now available. We got t-shirts, vests, hoodies, and more. Just click the link below. Join me on Patreon. I upload a...
Anyways, very good video by HatmanStrikesBack. I believe that overall is his full channel name. But when it comes down to the overall, I thought he did a very good job explaining the gloves there when it comes down to the overall. So I agreed with basically every single point that he brought up there. Now let's take a look at the fight itself. And let me show you overall certain things overall. And the reason why it wouldn't make any damn sense why Tyson Fury overall would have had his hands lower into the glove. All right. But anyways, let's continue into this. Okay, so here we are in the 5th round, and this is overall where my main arguments are going to be. I'm not going to, you know, have the volume there because I'm going to be talking when it comes down to the overall. I'll replay it if I need to, but when it comes down to it, so let's just take a look at it here. So even at the beginning of the round, Tyson Fury lands a very good 1-2. He hurts him with a right when it comes down to the overall. And you're going to see that Tyson Fury, to continue attacking Deontay Wilder in order to hurt him or maybe put him down, he doesn't go at him with a left hand, which is the punch they allege overall Tyson Fury had lower into the glove. A lot of them are not alleging overall that he did it with both gloves. They're just alleging that he did it with one glove, the left glove. Well, you're going to see him hurt Deontay Wilder a little bit here, and then you're going to see him overall keep his lead hand in his face in order to keep him a little bit off balance, to keep him up against the ropes overall, and to keep somewhat at distance to make sure that right hand is nullified. Once again, a lot of great defensive boxers use this technique when it comes down to the overall. Mayweather has done this, Lara has done this, Gail Morgan has done this, and a certain amount of others have done this. Even Lomachenko has done this. A certain amount of others have done this. Bernard Hopkins used to do this to temporarily blind his opponents. Okay, it's not that hard to figure out if you know your boxing. But anyways, take a look at what Tyson Fury tries to hit Deontay Wilder with after he hurts him. Does he try to hit him with consecutive left hands? Does he try to hit him overall with an open fist? Or does he try to hit him with the right hand? Let's watch. Now, you've seen him mainly try to attack overall with the right hand. Did it look like the lefts overall were with an open palm? Did it look like the left hands overall were overly powerful? One would think overall when it comes down to the overall, he was not he was not throwing overall with a cuffed hand sometimes or something like that overall because he had his knuckles lower into the glove. He was doing it overall to somewhat grab Deontay Wilder's head when it came down to the overall, and it wasn't really an open hand anyways. You know, sometimes it looked like it could have been an open hand here and there, but the majority of the time it was not. But he threw the left hand usually in more of a slapping motion in order to get Deontay Wilder's head set up for the right hand. That's what he was doing, okay? He was setting him up for a counter. That's what he was doing. He was almost like lining up Deontay Wilder's head for his right cross. That's what he was doing, all right? So once again, you just have to ask, if you have a left hand to where you can hit him with bone on bone, your knuckles, which apparently is hitting him with no padding whatsoever is what these guys allege, you know, which it would be when it comes down to the overall, you know, if you could, you know, turn around and hit him with the top part of your knuckles, excuse me, you know, when it comes down to the right, you know, so when it comes down to it, you know, so this is what they're alleging, like I said, that he has his fist lower into the glove, you know, and the question overall is this: if you really did have that power advantage because of that, why would you not try to hit him with consecutive left hooks when it comes down to the overall? Why would you continue to hit him with the right cross? That wouldn't make any sense. One thing that Sean Richardson noticed about Antonio Margarito, who was a cheater and got caught red-handed when it came down to the overall, what he noticed about him in the Miguel Cotto fight is that Margarito would go after spots that a lot of other people usually would not. He went after the elbows. He went after a certain amount of the joints. He went after the shoulders, all right? You know, to wear them down, you know, to tire them out overall with his hands overall, with his illegal tainted hand wraps, all right? Why would Tyson Fury overall, if his really is the left hand that has bare knuckles, if he has Deontay Wilder hurt, why is he not trying to hit him with a majority of left hooks? All the left hands you see are trying to set up a right hand. Let's rewind. So there you go. Once again, Tyson Fury, the majority of the left hands that he took, really pretty much every single one of them, they weren't looping hooks. They really weren't even hooks at all. They were complete jabs, or he was sticking them out there in order to keep Deontay Wilder off of him, or overall to keep him off balance and to set up his right hand. All those reasons, all right? Let's take a look at it further later on into the round. Alrighty, so this next thing, and overall, remember I told you earlier that dipshit, Aki TV, said, now we know why Tyson Fury was throwing a certain amount of uppercuts, because he had even more power because of his bare knuckles in the glove, when it comes down to the overall. That's what this dipshit said, you know, but he alleges himself that the left hand was the one overall that had more power, not the right hand, because he alleges it was only the left hand that overall had the fist lower into the glove. Well, let's see overall. We're going to look at these next couple rounds to see where the uppercuts are mainly thrown. And we're also going to take a look at the knockdown that happened in the 5th round, but in the slow-mo version. But let's take a look at the uppercut and with which hand Tyson Fury throws it with when he eventually does get deducted a point. You notice it's not usually with the left hand, it's usually with the right. So let's take a look at this. Now, which type of punch does he throw there? Maybe my eyes deceive me. Maybe I'm just insane. But did he throw it with the left or did he throw it with the right there? You tell me. And these idiots, like I said, Aki TV says, now we know why Tyson Fury was throwing uppercuts. You know why that wouldn't make any damn sense according to their theory? Because Tyson Fury, allegedly according to them, fucked with his left glove, which made his left hand have more power. So why would you be consistently and 95% of the time throwing right uppercuts? And take a look at the whole entire fight. We'll try to get some more uppercuts in there as well, you know, because he throws multiple. Anyways, let's see if I can get the knockdown. Okay, so here we are again with Deontay Wilder being hurt by Tyson Fury. And let's just take a look overall. Let me see if I can rewind a little bit more. All right, so Kenny Bayless just took a point away. Tyson Fury is going in, you know, on that ass when it comes down to the overall. And no other way to put it. And let's see overall if he tries to hit him mainly with his left hand, as in a hook, or he tries to hit him with the right hand. Let's see. So there were a couple left hands there, but as you can see, mainly right hands. Once again, if you had Deontay Wilder hurt, and if you were cheating with your left hand, why would you not mainly go with your left hand when it comes down to it? And why would they not be majorly hooking shots? And why overall would we not be seeing any more movement with the gloves? We see nowhere near the same amount of movement overall with the gloves. You know why we don't see any movement? Because he's not flicking his wrist. That's the reason why. There's no weird movements with the gloves this time around or anything like that. And the left glove was a little bit loose the first time, but his hand was not lower into the glove. But that's why Tyson Fury said multiple times he needed tape on his glove, and he did push his glove back a little bit on forward, you know, a little bit later on. All right, and you can look at this video overall by Showbiz the Adult. You know, when it comes down to the overall, you know, you can look that video up by him. But anyways, let's continue. And what do you know? Another right uppercut that he was going to set up. What do you know? Turns out Aki was full of shit this whole entire time. Anyways, let's take a look at the knockdown and the replay. Okay, so now we're going to watch overall the left hand land in the replay to the body, which is what knocked Deontay Wilder down. And you're going to see his fingers slightly clinch. And you're going to see overall Deontay Wilder knocked down with the top of Tyson Fury's glove to the body. And one has to ask, if you do have your fist lowered down into the glove overall, why overall would you, and it's taped up, it's laced up in there, so would Tyson Fury really be able to constantly move his hand in and out overall without us knowing? That's the, you know, basically fisting the glove. Is that what you're alleging when it comes down to the overall? Let's take a look at overall which part of the glove of Tyson Fury's left glove lands on Deontay Wilder's body. And keep in mind, we don't see any movement when it comes down from the glove overall. It looks like a solid landing overall. Would Tyson Fury be able to land a punch like this upcoming if he had his fist lower into the glove? So let's take a look at it. So, hold on. Let's play this in slow motion real quick. We're going to do a 0.25. So you see a little bit of a cuff left hook right there, but as you see, it was not an open palm. It landed overall with a little bit of the top fingers. But you know why Tyson Fury is throwing like that? To try and get around Deontay Wilder's guard, so he can get in there overall, so he's careful with the right hand, so he can sort of get him, a little bit off guard, but take a look overall when Tyson Fury has a more clear shot. And you would think overall, if you have a more clear shot, and if you are cheating to land with the bare knuckles, why wouldn't Tyson Fury do a full-fledged power shot to the body overall with the lower part of the glove? But take a look at what part of the glove he hits him with. Now, first of all, let's rewind that overall. Let's see. So this is 2027. Let's see. 23. Sure. Now watch when Tyson Fury sees the opportunity to land the left hook to the body. You're going to see his thumb and his fingers move in the left hand. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's see if we can see his fingers and his thumb clench. I thought I saw him clench, but let's see. And also take a look at what part of the glove it lands on. In my opinion, you can see his thumb and his fingers clench a little bit. And let's take a look overall at what part of the glove Tyson Fury lands the left hook on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, did that look like the lower part of the glove, or did that look like overall the top part of the glove? And did that look like there was any weird movements with that glove? Did it look like it was bending in a weird position with the top part of the glove? Did it look like it was caving in? Did it look like it was bending backwards, which is what would have happened overall if you were punching with that part of the glove and you did not have that piece overall right there? Would his fingers and his thumb be that close and that overall clenched if his fingers and his thumb and his hand was not all the way up in the glove? I rest my case. So that's pretty much about it for today. I think I've proven everything that I needed to prove. I think we watched some good videos, and that's really about it for today. Once again, the pro-black boxing mafia is very upset right now that, Deontay Wilder lost the fight, but it is what it is. Hopefully Deontay Wilder does not fall into this like he fell into some of the excuses the first time. That is a part of the reason why I believe overall, he did not make any adjustments. So we'll see what happens with Deontay Wilder. Hopefully Deontay Wilder makes the right adjustments for himself when it comes down to it, so he has more of a chance in the third fight. Personally, I don't see him beating Tyson Fury anyway. But at least it would make it more interesting overall if he can make some sort of adjustments, and I wish everyone the best of luck. But that's pretty much all I have to say for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later.